Welcome to the Lovestead.
Hello. Welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica and this is my June vlog. Hello, I'm pre-recording this and you're probably going to see it in every video moving forward because I always forget to say it in the moment when I'm filming. But I do tend to read some dark and twisted material, so before you read any of the books that I talk about, please check your trigger warnings. If you watched my May vlog, you'll know at the very end when I wrapped it up, I was like, Waterworks City, and it is like directly after me filming that wrap up, so if I look puffy, that is why. I have to go get the books. I think my big book is downstairs. I'm not going to go grab it. Happy Pride Month, by the way. So I'm doing a buddy read right now with my friends Destiny and Chelsea at Read Chelsea Read. I don't think Destiny has a booktube channel, but if you do, Destiny, please connect us to your channel in the comments. I'll connect you to Chelsea's in the description box. But we are reading Orlando by Virginia Woolf. And this is, if you know Virginia Woolf's writing, you know she's kind of known for stream of consciousness. This has very little plot. I don't know that I could fully tell you even what it's about plot-wise. It is all vibes, it is all feelings, it is all emotions, it is all ideas. And it's very queer, and it's very cerebral, and it's probably my favorite book of all time. And I'm going through something hard to describe as I reread this book. Please go watch the very last check-in of my May vlog to get a feel for what's going on as I read this book. This book goes beyond being a book for me. This book is incredibly important in my life. Now, as a book, there was one moment in here that has kind of soured it a little bit for me. She uses the N-word. So if that's a trigger for you, know that at one point in this story, out of the blue, for no good reason at all, she drops the N-word. And that shocked me when I read it the other day because I don't remember it from the last times I've read it, but I mean, it's been a decade since I last read it. You know, at the time that I last read it, it was not something that was it's not something I was aware of as much as I am now. It's not something that was on my radar as being as harmful as I know that it is now. Education is wonderful. When you know better, you do better. And that, you know, if I was just recommending this book to people, that's definitely a trigger warning. I would be like, look, she drops the N-word for no good goddamn reason at all. If you're at all harmed by that, don't read it. There's a lot of good books out there to read that don't do that. So, but yeah, for me personally, this is a book that transcends just being a book. It's an integral part of my lived experience as a human being. And my reread with this has been incredibly powerful for so many reasons. And like I said, please watch my last clip of my May vlog to get yourself caught up on what's going on as I read this. So that is the normal size book that I'm reading. And by normal, I just mean under 500 pages. Those of you who are here regularly, you know this. I read 2 books physically. One is a book 500 or more pages. The other is a book that's under 500 pages. I used to be really intimidated by long books, and so this is my way of like being able to still read long books in a way that's not intimidating, as I just kind of am always reading a really big book and kind of rotate between the big book and the smaller book. The audiobook that I'm reading is the 3rd book in a series. I've been feeling pretty dysregulated in terms of like my nervous system right now. And I've been working with this corrective exercise specialist who basically runs a specialty program for people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome to help us manage our symptoms and just feel better. And one of the most important things that is a part of this program is keeping your nervous system regulated. And May was like a time of so much healing and processing of my past and integrating it with my current. Like it was a month. So the past couple days I've been feeling really dysregulated. And there's a book series that I love to read when I need to regulate my nervous system called the Puddleduck Farm series by Della Galton. And it's just this like cozy contemporary slice of life story where there's no stakes and it's very safe, and the characters have a little bit of conflict and trauma, but nothing over the top and nothing on the page, and like it just makes me feel safe. And yeah, like I said, it regulates my nervous system. And so this is the third book in the series. It's called Living the Dream at Puddleduck Farm. So the Goodreads description says, the next installment in the wonderfully warm and uplifting series set on Puddleduck Farm. Life would be idyllic if everyone else was on the same page. Puddleduck Vet's practice is busier than ever. So the main character is a veterinarian. Phoebe Dashwood is juggling the usual crazy animal antics of her quirky clients whilst organizing the wedding of her bridezilla grandmother and thankfully dating her perfect man. Oh my gosh, her grandmother's getting married? So in the last book, her grandmother had like a love interest. I didn't know they were getting married. That's kind of spoilery, Goodreads. Phoebe loves every minute of being a New Forest vet, even if she hardly has time to catch her breath. If only she could find some quality time for her and the man of her dreams, life would be perfect. When an ex's heartbreak stirs up some emotions from the past, Phoebe realizes she must deal with some unfinished business. It would seem a miracle is needed to pull off a happy ending for everyone. But is it within Phoebe's power to work miracles? So Phoebe is a vet. Her grandmother runs this farm that does animal rescue for cats, dogs, donkeys, etc. And it's very cozy. So that's what I haven't started it yet, but I'm going to start that on audiobook probably today when I'm doing barn chores. And then the big book that I'm currently reading is downstairs and I don't want to go get it, but it is the second book in the Game of Thrones series by George R.R. Martin called Clash of Kings. I've been reading it for a couple months now, so if you watch my vlogs, you know, I've been reading it for a while. I'm halfway through though, and I'm hoping to get through another good chunk of it here in June. My goal is to have it done by the end of July because I want to move on to a different big book at that point. That's the book update. And I don't think I have any other life-ish updates for you. So that's the check-in. So Doll stepped on my foot, Doll, my horse, if you didn't know. And it looks so gnarly, but it feels okay. But it's like so bruised and stuff. Like basically this whole top half through here is bruised. And like some of it's starting to move down to my toes, which means that it's healing. But there's like bruising here on my ankle. And like it's super swollen. Oh, horses, y'all. Here's kind of another look at it. You can kind of see, it doesn't show up on camera very well, but you can see like the line right here where the bruise starts. It's like my whole foot is just like this lavender. Who needs the northern lights when you can just bruise yourself, right? Hello, it is Wednesday, June 5th. I've just finished teaching class for the night. It's about 9:15 p.m. and I really haven't been reading this week. I've been sort of swamped doing house projects and with work. So we've been getting a lot of rain here in Iowa, May and June, and we very much need it because the state's been in a drought and our water levels have been so low. So we very much need the water, but getting water in the basement. My neighbor's been getting water in the basement. So we are pulling up the pavers by our building because the pavers were slanting inward towards the building. And so we're redoing them so they slope away from the building. and that will hopefully stop the water from getting in. So it's sort of put a crimp in a lot of plans for me, because the area where the brick is that I'm redoing is where my bucket garden is. And so I haven't planted anything, and it's June 5th. And so I don't think I'm going to get to planting much this year. Plus, in May, when I did my seedlings, one of my cats tore up all the seedlings, so all my seedlings died. And I would have to be going out and buying plants. So what I think I'm going to try to still do, though, is after we get the pavers all done, the soil in the buckets are spent. So I think I'm going to dump the soil and probably just stack the 5-gallon buckets and put them in my garage. And then I have some really nice looking pots, and probably in the pots I will plant like herbs. So I'm thinking like rosemary and sage and basil and parsley and all that kind of thing. And usually if you plant herbs in a pot, especially stuff like sage and parsley, they're biennial, so the likelihood that they will seed themselves and come back next year is pretty strong, which would be cool, because it would be cool to have like my little herb garden every year, or not little, but like a decent chunk of herb garden in buckets or planters every year. And well, and then like another thing that's putting a monkey wrench in my plans is like, I usually grow tomatoes, and I grow like 25 pounds of tomatoes every year. And the diet that I'm on, I'm working with a nutritionist and a corrective exercise specialist and an occupational therapist and all of that. And they recommend low histamine foods to help get my inflammation down. And tomatoes are something I'm not supposed to be eating right now. It's not permanent, but just right now, to get the inflammation down, I am not supposed to be eating tomatoes. So, like, I guess of any year for me to not be able to get my bucket garden planted, this was a good year for that to happen, I suppose. But yeah, we've been working on that, and like bricklaying, y'all, is hard, hot work, and it is not a career path for my future. Should something happen with my current position, I will not be going into bricklaying or concrete work unless I absolutely have to, because it is very hard on my hands and my back, and like as it is for anybody, but like especially so for me with my joint issues. So it's been really exhausting, and then taking up a lot of time, and I've felt kind of stressed about it, and then just other stuff going on, and I just haven't been reading as much as I need to. It's not even reading as much as I want to, it's reading as much as I need to, because I read for my mental health. It is an important part of my mental health hygiene, is to get reading in every day, and I haven't. Like, I've had 3 days in a row of no reading because of work, because of this, because of that. So tonight I am going to commit to reading at least an hour of one of my books. And like another thing that is kind of not necessarily a struggle, but I keep starting different books, and there's a lot of books I'm trying to read and want to read. So like I'm really in the mood for like a hard-hitting romance, but I can't find a hard-hitting romance. Like all of the ones on I have checked out for KU, I've DNF'd every single romance that I've had checked out on KU. And then I don't buy romance typically, so I don't have any on my shelves. And then like my library, I have to like physically go to the library, and I don't have time to physically go to the library. And like the romance available through like Hoopla and Overdrive, all the good ones are always checked out for like months at a time, and like you can put them on hold, but I'm not going to get it for 2 months from now. So trying to find a romance, particularly from Kindle Unlimited, of the ones that I have checked out, I think I've only got a couple left even checked out from this last round to try, because I have literally DNF'd every single one, every single romance, and they've just not been hitting. So I want to find a romance. Now, that being said, I did get some book mail. Let me show you. Speaking of romance, most of these I've read already. Okay, so I bought myself the next installment in the new covers of the Devil's Night series. This is the last one. Nightfall. Includes bonus material. Oh, a bonus scene. Very cool. I don't think this was in the Kindle Unlimited version, so that's exciting. And then I had on my wish list the novellas from the series. And it's interesting because in my May vlog, I was talking about how I wonder if the novellas come in paperback too, because if they do, I'd really like to have them. And I haven't even posted my May vlog yet, but somebody gifted me both of the novellas. Now, it didn't come with a note. So if you gifted me Fire Night and Conclave, please let me know so that I can properly thank you. So Fire Night, it was a buddy read I read with my friend Amy at Amy Harbord and Pages. And then this is the only one from the series that I haven't read. So this could be the one. This could be the one that I read. And this was one of my KU checkouts, so I can return that KU checkout and try to find a better romance to check out on KU. I think I probably will pick this up tonight just because, like I said, I've been craving like a good hard-hitting romance, and Penelope Douglas never disappoints. And yeah, so it looks like this is from Damon Enrique's point of view. And I mean, I can read you the back of it, but I feel like it's a little spoilery. So that's a spoiler, that's a spoiler, that's a spoiler. Yeah, everything on the description is a spoiler, so I'm not going to read it to you. But I think this is, yeah, so you've got Corrupt Hideaway, Kill Switch, then Conclave, then Nightfall, then Fire Night. That's the order. And then I'm reading another KU book that I picked up. It's Coming Home to the Trees by Patrick Jasper Lee. He is the one who wrote We Borrow the Earth, and it's about Romany culture. So I've been reading that like when I get my nails done or whatever, like whenever I'm out and about and just need to pick up something to read, I've been reading it because I just read it in little bits at a time. It's nonfiction, and it's about like Romany lore and history. So it's, you know, it's one of those you can pick up and put down. And then another one that I've been kind of picking up and put down, which I'll show you when I go downstairs to read for the night, is a book by Jessica Sowers, who is coming to this event I'm going to at the end of the month called Murray Fest, which I'll talk to you more about Murray Fest some other time, but her book is about gardening, and I want to make sure that I read it before I go to Murray Fest because I want her to sign it when I'm there. So many books, and so little lifespan in which to read it. Picking that one up too, and then I am still reading the third Puddleduck book and Orlando and the second Game of Thrones books. I am also still doing the buddy read with Chelsea of the Sylvia Plath Diaries and reading that big book on, like, it's called the Tightwad Gazette. It's about saving money. So like there's a lot on my to be read list. And this weekend is the Lair Readathon, and so I think what am I going to do for the Lair Readathon? Probably not going to finish any books, but hopefully like make progress on all the books on my currently reading list. That's like my goal. I think that's my goal for the week. All right, that's the check-in. Long, rambly. You are updated. Handsome Boy L is going to help me in sharing with you those big nonfiction books I was talking about that I am reading, and he's rubbing on the screen. So if you hear him. So the first is this. He just bumped my hand. Sorry. Oh my gosh, he keeps rubbing on my hand. Okay. Hi, buddy. You're a good boy. Let me switch hands so I can pet you. Okay, the first one is The Complete Tightwad Gazette by Amy Decision. And where am I in this? It's like a lot of pages long. I am about there. And, you know, this is what it looks like.
And it's okay so far. It's a little dated. It was written and published in the 90s, and a lot of the material and the tips and the advice and stuff in here is no longer applicable because it's 30 years old. So, you know. The second one here is The First Time Gardener Growing Vegetables by Jessica Swords. And she has Elle keeps bumping the camera, so I'm sorry when my hands shake. He's wanting attention, aren't you? So Roots and Refuge, buddy, stop. Roots and Refuge Farm is her YouTube channel that she runs with her husband, Jeremiah. And she's going to be at this festival I'm going to at the end of the month called Murray Fest. So I'm trying to get through, a good chunk of this because I'm going to take this book with me when I go to Murray Fest and see if she will sign it for me. And then this is the third big old nonfiction I'm working on, and I am buddy reading this with Chelsea from Read Chelsea Read as well. So we have two buddy reads going right now, Orlando and the Unabridged Journals of Sylvia Plath here. And I am not making good progress on this. We've been reading it since February, and I'm just not getting through it very fast. It's really heavy. I mean, it's well written, but it's really heavy. And I think that I have to take time when I read these journal entries to look up context for them. So I have to look up online some biographical information of what's going on in Sylvia's life during the time that the entries are written. Because if I just read the entries alone, I'm I can't really be all that invested in it. And it makes a lot more sense when I can put it in context, with her life. And it has a bigger impact, I guess I should say. I don't know what's all over my book here, but so those are the big three nonfiction plus Elle. What a good boy. Elle. If you're new here, Elle is my 15-year-old kitty. 15 years old this month. 15! Him and his sister Cherry are both 15.
Hello, it is Wednesday, June 12th, and I just finished teaching class, and I wanted to just do a check-in about books because I've finished a couple. So I did end up reading and finishing Conclave by Penelope Douglas, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a good installment in this universe, and basically what happens is this friend group decides to hold a conclave where they go on this boat and they stay on this boat and just basically hash out all their issues, and they don't leave the boat until they've worked everything out. And so it kind of reminds me of like the Breakfast Club, you know, where you've got like this set amount of time and you're going to do this thing until it's done kind of thing. And everybody gets so emotional and shares like their deep dark secrets and all of that. And I don't know that it was like super romancy. I mean, there was a lot of smut, as there tend to be in Penelope Douglas's books. It was really more like seeing a continuation of some of the relationships that had already started. Primarily, it was from the points of view of Rika and Erica. And that is what led me to giving it 4 stars, because I think I would have liked it better if we got more POVs. Like if we got Michael's POV and just a couple other people that I think we could have heard from, that would have made this a more, a richer experience, if you will. And I so very badly want there to be a book about Alex. And after reading this, I wish there was a book about Micah too. But alas, I don't think we're going to get those books. So I liked it. It was 4 stars. And I don't know. I just love this universe. Did it fulfill my need for like a hard-hitting romance? Más o menos. Not totally, but a little bit, I guess. I still have not found a romance the past month that I've just been like really into, you know. I'm still reading Orlando. I'm still reading Clash of Kings. I am still reading Coming Home to the Trees. And then I finished my audiobook, which is the 3rd book in the Puddleduck series, Love Blossoms at Puddleduck Farm, I think it is. And it was a 3-star read. And again, it's just exactly what I need to regulate my nervous system. A no stakes book. This had a little bit more stakes in it than the first 2. There's a little bit more tension and drama in this installment in this series, but it wasn't like traumatizing tension or drama. It was still like, everybody's okay. Like, everybody's fine and life is okay and everything's covered, you know, like, so it still allowed for me to feel like I had like that safe space where I could sort of just like relax into the story. So it was another 3-star, and I'll definitely read the next book. I don't know if this is a book, I don't know if this is a series that is in active writing, like if she's continuing it or if she has finished the series. I'm not really sure, but I'll just keep reading however many there are because they're so soothing. And then I have not picked up another audiobook. I've honestly not been in a huge audiobook mood. And that was another reason why like Puddleduck worked, because Puddleduck's on Hoopla. And Hoopla, you get the whole month to read a book versus Libby, where you just get like the 14 days. And so with Hoopla, I could just really take my time as I was reading it. And I didn't have to worry about like meeting a deadline. So I don't know what I'm going to read on audiobook. When it gets hot out, I don't like wearing headphones because I sweat when I'm doing chores at the barn, and then I get infections in my ear piercings. I don't know if that's TMI or not. So I don't like wearing headphones in the summer, and it's really awkward to have like my phone just blasting my audiobook when I'm there, because I'm always having to like turn it off if someone else comes into the barn to be polite, right? So I haven't been getting a lot of audiobook reading done. It's mainly like when I do my laundry and fold my clothes, or when I'm cooking dinner, or driving, that I listen. And I haven't had like these big like 2-hour-long sessions of audiobook listening. So my reading's really slowed down for the summer, because audiobooks are part of the reason why I can get through so many books. And like just the summer has been so busy just in general, like with the whole patio project and gardening, and like it's been a lot of stuff, and I just have not had the time to read like I normally read. It is not yet affecting my mental health, but I know if I don't kick myself into gear and spend at least an hour a night reading, it will start affecting my mental health. So I'm definitely going to be reading tonight. I think I'm going to be reading more of Clash of Kings. And what else do I have to update you on? I got my bucket garden all put together. I did get a couple tomato plants, a couple kale plants, and herbs. Because with my histamine thing, when I was talking to the nutritionist, she said that it's all about just your tolerance level. And so I'm going to stay off tomatoes for a while. And then when my tomato plants actually produce fruit, then I will give tomatoes a try and see how well I tolerate them. Because if I can tolerate the tomatoes okay, then they should be fine. But I need to go off them for a while so that I can determine tolerance level. So that's that. And I don't have like 20 buckets of tomatoes. I have 3 tomato plants instead of like 15 or 20. That's the bucket garden for the year. It's way scaled down, but at least it's something. At least it's something.
Hi, Munchkin. Will you come say hi to me? Hi, sweetheart. Hi. Oh my goodness. You're so cute. Day 4 of the foot saga. There's bruising on my ankle. Which, like, she stepped on the top of my foot. Has nothing to do with the ankle. I think the blood just pools weird as it heals. I like to document this because I think it's cool to watch bruises evolve. And also, I've got vascular EDS, so if I have to show my doctor something, I will have it documented. So pretty.
Hello, it is Friday, June 14th. All of my devices are running updates right now. Like my laptop, my work laptop, my desktop, my iPad, all running updates. I guess there was a big update this week for software. So I decided to take a lunch break and do some checking in on the vlog while everything updates before I can get back to work. I think that I forgot to mention when I talked about finishing Love Blossoms at Puddleduck Farm that there was a Romany character in the story. I love synchronicities. I just love synchronicities. All my spiritual girlies out there, let me know your thoughts on synchronicities, but it happens to me all the time with my reading. So reading kind of becomes a spiritual practice for me in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's a Romany character in that story, and I feel like the representation was done well. There was a little bit of falling into stereotypes because she is a fortune teller, but Romany do fortune telling. I mean, it's how a lot of them make a little bit of extra money. If you listen to Jessica Reedy's podcast, Romanistan, they even talk about like fortune telling as being a big part of their culture. So I didn't feel like that was necessarily a bad thing. Now, I'm not Romany, I am Traveler, so there are differences, and I can't claim to be an expert on being Romany. If you are Romany and you read this and you noticed anything problematic, please let me know in the comments down below, but I felt like they did a pretty good job, actually, of representing a Romany person in this book and representing them as a complete person rather than a stereotype. So, I mean, that was kind of cool. Kind of cool, kind of synchronous, because I'm also reading that book, Coming Home to the Trees by Patrick Jasperly, which is about Romany culture, heritage, history, all of that. And then, like I said, synchronicities. In Orlando, I forgot about this because it's been so long since I've reread this book. In Orlando, he spends a period of time with Romany. He calls them gypsies because, but interestingly, he spells it with an I instead of a Y. I don't know what that means within the context of this work and the time period that it was written. But yeah, Orlando spends a period of time with Turkish gypsies and talks about living with them and getting back to nature. And it's actually after this time with the gypsies he like takes this very long nap and wakes up a woman. So representation is happening without me even looking for it. It's just coming out of the woodwork right now, and it just like, it feels right. It feels right. It feels so affirming for me that like I am on the right path. I figured it out. I'm moving in the right direction in life and all of that. So fun little things. Tell me down below, like, when you read, if you are a spiritual person, if you are a spiritual reader or person, let me know down below if you experience these kinds of synchronicities when you read, where you read something and it's like, I'm going through that right now, or I just learned that, or like, hey, that's part of what I'm identifying with and struggling with right now. Like, it happens to me so often. So let me know down below if it happens to you too. I'm really curious. And then I am picking up an audiobook. I'm kind of in the mood for like a cozy, easy read when it comes to audio, because these books here, they take a lot of brain power. Like, this is a really intricately plotted story, and this is a really abstract and cerebral story, and so I just need something I don't have to think about too hard right now. So, and I'm also in kind of a cozy mood and really have been utilizing audiobooks right now by picking books that help me regulate my nervous system and help keep my stress levels down, because I'm in this wellness program, and one of the most important things for this wellness program with this group of Ehlers-Danlos specialists that I'm working with is to keep my nervous system regulated so I'm not functioning on adrenaline non-stop. And I found that having a cozy audiobook is really helping me to do that and kind of bring my energies down to a more peaceful level. So the audiobook that I'm picking up is actually a novella. It's called Criminally Coco by Amanda Flower. Yay, my phone is done updating, so I will read you the Goodreads description. So weird when an update happens like that. It was literally like all of my devices were like, you're gonna stop working now because we need to take care of ourselves. Like, how cool it would be if we as humans could just be like, I'm gonna stop working now, everybody, because I need to take care of myself and do an update. Okay, this is book 1.5 in the Amish Candy Shop Mystery, according to my Hoopla, which is where I'm reading it. I read the first book several years ago, and it stuck with me. Like, I still remember what the first book was about. I still remember who the characters are. And when that happens with a book, when there's that amount of time that's gone by and I can still remember so much of it, that is a really good sign. So I decided to pick up this little novella here. And it says, as if being in New York City for Easter isn't exciting enough, Charlotte Weaver has another reason to be thrilled. She's helping her cousin Bailey on the set of her first cable TV show, Bailey's Amish Sweets. Bailey will even be recreating the delectable hand-woven chocolate Easter baskets she once crafted for the city's world-famous JP Chocolates. But once things start rolling, Charlotte starts to notice odd things happening. Things that seem to be intended to make Bailey look bad. So this is actually told from the perspective of Charlotte. In the first book, I think it was told from Bailey's perspective. And Charlotte is on her Rumspringa, which is where Amish children get to decide whether or not they want to commit to being part of the church. And so for part of her Rumspringa, she's going to New York and like experiencing the city. And so it's kind of interesting to listen to this perspective of someone who is from an Amish culture, and like it's a very different culture from my own and from a lot of other cultures. I mean, it's not one that we get to hear a whole lot about, I feel like. And interesting to see how she's like reacting to being in the city and interacting with these people on the set of this TV show. And so far, I'm having a good time reading it. I'm about 30% of the way through. Okay, here's the official bucket garden tour of my 2024 bucket garden. So here we've got
chives and thyme, petunias, peppermint, chocolate sprinkle tomato, more petunias, oregano, kale, impatiens, basil, petunias. Can you tell I like petunias? More kale, another chocolate sprinkle tomato. That's a bougainvillea vine that I'm going to try to winter over. I'm never very successful with that, but I'm going to try it. And then just a red cherry tomato. And that is the garden.
Hi, it is June 15th. It's a Saturday and I feel like absolute trash. I'm having a major flare-up of all of my EDS symptoms. So I'm having joint pain, joint hypermobility, and just like looseness. Things are popping out of place. Things hurt. I'm having POTS issues, which is, I have hyperPOTS, which is hyperandrogenic postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And basically what that means is I have trouble staying hydrated, I have issues with dizziness, and just like regulating my autonomic nervous system really struggles. And I'm having trouble with that. Like last night after doing barn tours, I basically had to sit down in the middle of the aisle in the barn and just like find my center because I felt like I was going to pass out. And then I'm also having gastroparesis issues where my guts are super locked up, having trouble eating and digesting things, feeling nauseous, and as a result of all of that, feeling super, super low energy. And I was supposed to go see Rent tonight, and I was so excited to go see Rent tonight, but I needed to print my ticket off, and my printer doesn't have ink, and I didn't have the energy to go to the store and get a new ink cartridge. And then I sat down and I was like, if I don't have the energy to go to the store to get an ink cartridge, I definitely don't have the energy to be bombarded with all that stimulation from a very loud, bright, energetic musical. And I feel terrible about it, but like, I mean, at least I bought a ticket and supported my friend in that way, you know, and it's just the reality of being chronically ill, and it really, really, really sucks. And I feel like the perception often with this is that I'm just faking it and trying to get out of things. Like I really wanted to go see that show. It was like a meaningful thing for me, right? That was one of the texts I used in my master's thesis. I love Rent. So I am actually quite disappointed that I feel like puke warmed up. But I've essentially just been resting all day, and I did finish a couple of books as a result of that. I finished Orlando by Virginia Woolf, and interesting reading experience with this. And I don't know if it's because I feel crappy today, but I feel like the first half of this was like, it really had me in my feelings. And it really had me reflecting on like who I was at that time in my life. And oddly, I think I mentioned this in my May vlog, oddly, I had some people from this time in my life when I first read this reach out to me when I started reading this. So it just had me really thinking about that time in my life, really reflecting, really having a lot of nostalgia. So the first half of this was like a really impactful and powerful read. For more reasons than just the book itself, but more so the role that the book has played in my life. Now the second half dragged, and I don't know if I can say if this honestly feels sacrilegious, but I think that there is a possibility that I might read a book better than this in my lifetime. I'll put it that way. I will say this is still my favorite book of all time. But I think that there is the strong potential that I will find something that will top it in my lifetime. because this reread, and this is probably, I would have to go back and rethink about this and double check. I mean, I guess I could look at the different kinds of notes and stuff that I took the different for. Okay, so this would be my fourth read of it. And this is probably the least I've enjoyed it. Especially that second half. Like after I kind of got through that really emotional moment in the first half of the book, which really didn't have necessarily things to do with the book or the writing itself, but more so with its role in my life, if that makes sense. So like once I got through that, man, the second half dragged. It dragged. And I mean, there were some parts where the imagery was absolutely stunning. There were some parts where I laughed out loud. There were some parts that did get me in my feelings. There were some parts that really made me think about these interesting ideas. And I think that the writing is so skillful, and Virginia Woolf is so brilliant in what she's doing in this book. But in terms of enjoyment, I didn't enjoy it as much as I have in the past. And I do think that it could just be the place I'm in right now. Like I feel crappy. This is a book that requires a lot of mental energy to really appreciate. I'm reading another book right now, Clash of Kings, that also takes a whole lot of mental energy to appreciate. So I think like all of those factors combined made this a less than enjoyable reading experience this time around. I think it is still going to stay a 5-star read, and it is still going to stay at the top of my list of favorite books and be my favorite book of all time. But yeah, I do think at some point in my life there will be a book that will beat it. So that's what I'm gonna say about that and that reading experience. Have you read Orlando? I was reading some of the Goodreads reviews, and a lot of people really don't like this book. And I can understand why, because there's really no plot. It's very much about the vibes, the imagery, the symbolism, the ideas. And so if you're a very plot-driven reader, this really isn't the book for you. And a lot of people really dislike it. It's also just difficult to read. Like it's difficult to read and understand what exactly she's talking about and what is going on. Like you have to really think about the nuances. You have to really think about the connections that are being made. It's not one that you can just sit down and like easily get through. So that could be another reason why a lot of people don't like it, which is valid. I don't know. Let me know down below if you have read this, if you've tried it and DNF'd it, if you love it. I would love to hear your thoughts, even if you didn't like this book. Even though it's my favorite book of all time, you're not going to offend me if you tell me you don't like it. So let me know. Okay, that was the third book from my shelves that I have read, and I'm trying this thing where I read from Kindle Unlimited every third book from my shelf. So it's time for me to pick up the next Kindle Unlimited book from my list here. And I think I'm going to try Twisted Heathens by J. Rose. It is a dark romance. And I'm looking at my screen because I'm kind of reading the description here. This is one that I got from one of Manda's recommendation videos. She's at gingersnappedreads, and she loves this book, and I think it's a series. Let me see, is it a series? Yes, Blackwood Institute #1. Let's see how many are in the series. 1, 2, 3. So it's a trilogy. She loves this trilogy, and it's the first book in the trilogy, but it's basically about this woman who is in an institution, a psychiatric institution, and somehow there's a love story that develops in there. And Amanda says it's very dark, and I do like a dark and twisted story. Fingers crossed that I like it, because I've literally DNF'd every KU romance I've tried so far with this round of KU checkouts. So hopefully I like it. But that is the regular size book that I'm going to start next.
Look how much better my foot looks. Yay! Just a little bit of bruising left. Woohoo! Good job, foot! not Wednesday, Tuesday, June 18th, and just got home from the emergency vet because I have a sick doggo here. Mr. Orlando not doing so good tonight, and I'm going to have to give him some meds at intervals throughout the night. So it's going to be a very long night, but if he is not doing better by morning, I got to take him back into the vet in the mornings. Man, life, right? Anyway, since it's going to be a long night with Mr. Man here, hopefully gonna get some reading done, but I'm probably just gonna spend it all with my attention on him, to be honest. But maybe I'll listen to an audiobook while I snuggle him. I don't know, we'll see. I'm very stressed.
It is Saturday, June 22nd. Orlando is okay. Putting that out there first so I don't worry anybody. He's just having some issues with his heart and fluid buildup and breathing rate, but I think we've got it under control. I'm feeling a little better about how he is doing. He does seem to be feeling better, so that's good. And hopefully he'll continue to get better, because right now his medication schedule is basically like every 4 hours I'm dosing him with something. And the goal is to get his breathing rate stabilized at a certain rate for a long period of time. And then I can taper down the medication. So instead of 4 hours, we do 6 hours, do 8 hours, 12 hours, right? I've got about 7 days before Murray Fest. So let me tell you about Murray Fest. Murray Fest is this festival for like homesteaders, gardeners, chicken keepers, livestock owners at this hatchery called McMurray Hatchery in Webster City, Iowa. And I bought a ticket for it as a birthday present to myself way back in February, because one of my favorite YouTubers is going to be there as a speaker, Jessica Sowards and her husband. And it's like a 3-day event, and there's, you know, different speakers and food trucks and music and things like that. And it sounds like it's going to be a really fun, dorky time for people like me, nerds. But my concern now is with Orlando's medication schedule. Can't really be out of the house for long periods of time. So I'm definitely no longer going to be like getting a hotel room or anything like that, because if I hire a pet sitter, he won't take medication from anybody but me. He wouldn't take meds from a pet sitter. So I'm going to have to be here to give him his meds every day. So I'll be commuting to Murray Fest, which is okay. I think it's just like an hour drive. So that's not terrible, right? It could be worse. And then I'm trying to just plan around. So like if we're not tapered down by next Saturday, and it is still every 4 hours, essentially every 4 to 6 hours, trying to plan it out so I'm able to see like the speakers I most want to see, and then just let the rest go, right? So I can be here for him. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now in terms of like that upcoming festival. June has kind of been a bust in terms of the things I was looking forward to. Like I was looking forward to going to Rent, and then had a major health flare-up last weekend, was not feeling good. I'm feeling much better now. Just a little tired. So I wasn't able to go to Rent, which I was really looking forward to, and I had bought a ticket for, and then Murray Fest is not going to be what I had hoped it to be. But that is okay, because I think I'll still be able to go see at least the couple speakers that I want to see and call it good. And honestly, with the weather, it's been so hot and humid, and I do not do well in hot and humid weather. It just flares up all of my health issues. So, you know, being out in the hot and humid weather at a fairgrounds for this festival, probably not the best idea anyway, and I didn't really think ahead about that too well when I bought the tickets. So the live and learn, I'm gonna make the best of it, and that's where we're at with that. Okay, so I did finish my one audiobook, Criminally Coco, and I thought it was really cute. I liked hearing from the perspective of Charlotte, who is Amish, and that was fun to learn more about just her worldview. And the mystery, I like that it wasn't a murder mystery. It was more so like someone on this TV set keeps causing all these accidents to happen because they're trying to sabotage the show. So that's like the mystery part of the story, which works well for a novella. So overall, I thought it was well done. Cozy, cute, fun little read. Good for a time pass if you need a time pass. If you like cozy mysteries, I would give this one a go. Like, I think Amanda Flower is a pretty good writer. So I gave it 3 stars, and I will continue the series. And then I am really having a cozy month. But like I've been talking about, I'm trying to use audiobooks for nervous system regulation, and cozies are the best thing to do that for me. So I picked up my next cozy mystery, which is book 5 in the Coffee House mystery series by Cleo Coyle. It's called Decaffeinated Corpse. Let me read you the Goodreads description. Cats. Alright, it says, when an old friend of her ex-husband develops the world's first botanically decaffeinated coffee bean and smuggles it into the country, Claire Cozy, manager of Village Blend, believes it's a business opportunity she needs to investigate, at least until the first dead body shows up. Oh dear, he just spilled water. I didn't love the 4th book in the series, the one before this. I think it's like Mocha and Murder, I think it's called. Because in that one, she wasn't at the Village Blend. She was in the Hamptons. Claire Cozy, the main character. And I am halfway through this one and liking it a whole lot more than I did the last book. She's back at the Village Blend. She's back with all of her characters. Like, I really like some of the baristas that work for her. Tucker is a fun character. Actually, so far at 50%, there hasn't been an actual murder. Like, someone was mugged. That's it. And now we're trying to figure out what's going on because she suspects that someone is trying to murder this guy who created the first decaffeinated coffee bean. I like that. You know, I think one of the challenges of a cozy mystery series is making each book unique but also believable. And the beauty of setting this series in New York City is that it's a big city where crime happens a lot. So it isn't difficult to make the crimes believable. Some of the other cozy series I've read that are set in small towns where it's just like murder after murder after murder after murder in this small town, it's not believable, right? You get to a point where you're like, girl, just move. Leave that small town because pretty soon there's not going to be anyone left. So I really appreciate when a cozy mystery series can focus on crime that's not just murder, right? I liked in the Amish Candy Shop novella that it was more sabotage we were looking at. And now in this one with Decaffeinated Corpse, we're looking more at like this guy got murdered, or not murdered, this guy got mugged, right? So I can appreciate that in a cozy mystery series. I have read 1 full chapter of Twisted Heathens by J. Rose. And I actually enjoyed the 1 chapter. I'm going to keep going with it. I've had such bad luck with KU romances this round that I don't have high hopes or expectations. I actually think I'll probably end up DNFing it. If I finish it and enjoy it, it will be a surprise. So that's where I'm at with that one. And then I haven't read more of Game of Thrones. I'm still at about 50% because of just everything going on. I haven't had the brain power to sit down and read Game of Thrones. Maybe I will a little bit today. I don't know. It's just been a month. It's been a weird month for reading, just in general, because I have either had too much going on, I haven't felt well, or there's been trauma. and I just haven't been able to read like I normally read. Plus it's like summer and I don't want audiobooks because of the headphones on my ears, and like I've really slowed my reading down this month, and I'm trying to get back into my normal schedule, but it has been a struggle just because life is like that sometimes.
You feeling better, buddy? Yeah, you feeling better. You're such a good boy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get you some dinner.
My new roses are here. This is the company that I get them from. Heirloomroses.com. Here's what they look like in the package. So that one there looks like it's struggling a bit, but the rest all appear to be pretty healthy. Hi, Ivy.
Hello, it is Monday, July 1st. I love it when a month begins on a Monday. I don't know, just feels like a fresh start to me. How about you? Let me catch you up on things non-bookish first. I did not end up going to Murray Fest, and I'm disappointed about it. You know that Orlando had that emergency. He was having trouble breathing, so he's on Lasix, timed specifically throughout the day, right? We're still on every 8 hours. We haven't backed off to 12 hours yet. I was having trouble timing out his medication schedule with everything. And then last Tuesday, Maggie ended up at the emergency vet. And she had a pretty gnarly looking anal prolapse. So they were able to put body parts back where they belong and all of that. But then she didn't want to go to the bathroom because she was sore back there, and if she got constipated, then there's a good chance she would have another prolapse. So I was having to make sure to give her like fiber in her food and stuff like that so she didn't get constipated, and take her for lots of walks so that she would, if get her enough exercise, maybe she would go, right? Now she is going now, but as of this weekend, it was still a concern. So I had that going on, and then I just also was feeling really tired mentally, physically, and my foot is broken. So, earlier in the month, Miss Dolly stepped on my foot. You saw some of the bruising, and I didn't go to the doctor because I could still walk on it and it felt okay. But after Maggie's emergency vet appointment, my foot swelled up like really big, like gnarly looking big. My toes looked like little Vienna sausages, and I was like, it's been almost a month. Why is this happening? Yeah, I have 2 broken bones in my foot. Thankfully, they are just partial fractures, so the doctor was like, you should have come in right away, because if they were complete fractures and you waited this long, we'd have to go in and re-break them and set them correctly and all that. But thankfully, I don't have to do anything like that. They said that I could wear a boot if it's more comfortable, but I don't have to. So it's basically try to take it easy for the next 6 weeks or so and let it heal. So Murray Fest, this festival, happens at a fairgrounds. Also, it's hot out. I don't do well in the heat. You know, the last thing my body really needs right now is to walk miles and miles in the summer heat around a fairground on a broken foot. It just, you know, too many things were adding up here. And I decided to just stay home, take care of my family, take care of myself. And my foot mostly feels fine. It's tender, it's tender, and it swells up if I overdo it. So I think my camera battery is about to die, so I should do some reading updates as I wrap this up, since it is July now. Halfway through this, haven't made a whole lot of progress. I, surprise, surprise, DNF'd Twisted Heathens. This had so much potential. I actually made it like 200 pages into the story. I really enjoyed the first part of it, but at like 200 pages, there just had been very little plot development. So this is a story that's set at this psychiatric institution, and they talk about how they're like cutting edge treatment facility, trying all these new things. And it's basically like a college setting, only it's an institutionalized college, because like the patients have to take classes and stuff, and it didn't really work for me. It felt like having it be like this educational setting, it felt very high school, and there are even like schoolyard bullies and stuff, and cliques, and like, who am I gonna sit by in class? And that just felt very high school. Like, it felt very immature, and I don't think that it would work. I just don't think it would work the way, because they're supposed to have like some of the like worst cases of mental illness at this institution that they're rehabbing through courses. And I'm sorry, but someone in the throes of psychosis is never going to be able to sit through an English class and have it mean anything or be helpful at all. So it didn't work. It didn't work. I also felt like having there be this like school setting within the institution was a major cop-out writing wise. This could have been so interesting if it stayed just a psychiatric institute and stuck with that. I felt like having it be a school setting made it easier for the writer to just make this like a high school story. It would have been so challenging to have like believable, authentic, romantic relationships within just a psychiatric institute. So I felt like that was too hard to do. So the writer was like, let's just make it a school. Because it really was more of a school, or even like a juvenile detention center, than it was a psychiatric institute. I liked the one character, Eli. I thought he was really interesting, and I believed the romantic tension and buildup between Eli and Brooklyn. This is a why choose story, so that connection made a lot of sense to me, and I liked that, but the rest of them didn't. So there's also Cade and Phoenix and Hudson, and like, I didn't really get the connection between Brooklyn and those other guys, whereas I understood the emotional connection between Eli and Brooklyn. So I didn't love that. I did really like how dark it was. I mean, these characters, specifically Eli and Brooklyn, they're very dark, haunted, broken people. And I felt like J. Rose did that well, that darkness and the mental illness was well represented within those two characters, but then the rest of them all kind of felt like the same person. Like Hudson, Cade, and Phoenix all kind of felt like the same person. So if I could rewrite this book, what I would do is make the main relationship Eli and Brooklyn, and make the setting just the psychiatric institute without like the experimental school stuff. And I think that would make it so much more interesting and hard-hitting and immersive and believable and all of that. So yeah, I DNF'd it. 200 pages also was only about halfway through. There was a lot of stuff in the book without actually like moving the story forward at all. Like we got some glimpses of things that happened in the past and little bits of connection to how those past things connect to the present, but really nothing happens in the present to like move the story forward. It was very lacked a lot of plot. And I'm not necessarily a plot driven reader. So it didn't bother me too much, except that even for me, I felt like, okay, let's move things along here. You know what I mean? For audiobook, I did finish the coffee house mystery that I was reading called Decaffeinated Corpse. I really liked this one. I liked that it didn't use a stereotypical cozy mystery formula. It was not formulaic at all. It didn't even have like a person die until like 75% of the way in. I liked that the crime that it focused on was actually like this guy getting mugged rather than like, oh, another person unalived. I liked the focus on being back in New York, being back at the coffee shop, learning about decaffeinated coffee. There's a lot of information in here about decaffeinated coffee and where it comes from and how it's made and all of that. And that's really fun for me to learn because I love coffee. I love learning about coffee. And then there's also some interesting conversation about like how artists use coffee in their work and like how different musicians really relied on coffee. So like within the coffee stories, there's like these connections to some of the lore about New York and some of like old New York and, you know, the beat poets and all of that and how it all just connects. And I love that about this series, and I love it the way that the coffee shop has been visited by like artists and poets and musicians that all kind of through the years walked through the cafe and had different kinds of coffee and made different kinds of art, because it creates such an interesting like talking point within the books between Madame and Claire, because Madame gets to tell her all about that. And then like some of the baristas as well are like musicians or poets. Actually, they are. Like there's one that's a musician, one that's a poet, one that's an actor. And so you get to hear like their experiences in this artistic part of New York, but they also have different stories they tell about, you know, when they're studying acting or when they're studying music, what they learn about coffee and these different musicians. And like there's just so much opportunity in this setting for really cool kinds of information to be shared, I guess is the point. I really liked it. I think actually it's my favorite book in the series. The only thing I kind of missed was that the police officer, Mike, that she likes, Mike Quinn, he wasn't really in this one a whole lot. But aside from that, I really enjoyed this installment. I did give it 4 stars because there were some parts where the exposition got to be a little bit much. And I, you know, it's the whole show don't tell issue. So 4 stars. But yeah, I do think that this is my favorite book in the, in this series so far. And I think that covers all the, yeah, that covers reading updates. So that actually covers everything, all the updates. Whew. June was interesting, wasn't it? Oh my gosh. Tell me down below, you know, how your month went. How was your June? What did you do? What was like a highlight for you in the month? If you just want to leave me an emoji to let me know that you're here or that you made it to the end, go ahead and leave me the little ambulance emoji, since we had so much medical issues the month of June between me and the dogs. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!